Good evening, everyone. This is Leanne from Of Love and Shiplap and the founder of Sublimation Graphics and Tutorials here on Facebook. If you're joining us on YouTube, be sure to come join our Facebook group. And of course, if you're catching us live on Facebook, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can find all of our videos after they are live in our neatly organized playlists. Now, today we're going to be continuing on with our white toner series, and I am going to be covering the iColor two-step select media. If you're not familiar, there are just so many different types of media which you can use for your white toner printing, and depending on which media you choose, the feel on a garment is going to be different. Now, so many people say, what does white toner feel like? And in every video I do, every paper type I try and cover, I try and make sure that I use the appropriate garment type for that paper type, and then also give you guys a pretty good idea of what it's gonna feel like. So the reason why I do this is because if you're trying to get into garment printing, the price point that you're willing to spend on materials and be able to sell your product for are all gonna be dictated by how the end feel is and what the variables are that contribute to that. So we've discussed many times that things like utilizing the RIP software makes a difference, but the media and the garment type and making sure you use the right media for the right garment type can make all the difference. Now, the most popular media is going to be either Forever Laser Dark or the iColor two-step standard. Now, I've already done a video featuring this paper because it is the most widely used, but today I'm going to tell you guys that from my first test of the iColor two-step select, I think that this paper is so much better. It is softer and thinner on your garment. I originally just tested it on a basic 100% cotton shirt, and I was amazed at how it felt. Today I'm actually going to be taking it one step further, and in this video I'm going to test it on two different types of tank tops. I'm using one of the fitness designs from my website, www.ofloveandshiplap.us. Now, I thought it would be good to try these because a lot of the thinner shirts are very popular. So if you're trying to find something that meets that, having the right paper type is really going to make all the difference. To me, the two-step standard is not really the most ideal choice for those lightweight garments. I think it's perfect for everything that's been a thicker cotton and even thicker polyester that I've tried it on. But in terms of the type of garment that a lot of people are selling, I don't really think it's the best option. And that's just my opinion. I really recommend that if you're considering getting into white toner printing, you take time to get one of those media sample kits so that you can try out all the different papers and figure out what works best for you. So the two tank tops I'm going to be using tonight are, all right, one is the Anvil Freedom. And this is I'm pretty sure it's a cotton polyester blend. No, a polyester rayon blend. And this is really thin. So when I think about, I mean, it's not as thin as like those Bella and Canvas marble, but there, if I actually put it to the window, you can see right through it. I personally do really like this tank top, but I don't really wear it simply because I think I'm a little old to be wearing something that's partially see-through. So the other one, this one actually is my favorite, and I own a ton of these. These ones I just happen to still have in the package, so I thought they'd be good to use for tonight's demo. So this is a Bayside tri-blend, and it does look a little see-through, but it's really not as much in person. I think that this is a really good thickness for all year round. It's very comfortable. And if you're really looking for something that's made in the USA, the Bayside tri-blend is made in the USA. So that's just another kind of a good selling point on these, especially this day and age when a lot of people are looking for that. So I don't think that this one is as soft as the Freedom tank top, but it is a little bit thicker, and I think that that alone is probably a good selling point that a lot of people are looking for. So with that in mind, let's talk about the price point for the two-step select before we get started. Now, the two-step select is going to run you about $1.85 per A4 sheet and $3.55 per A3 sheet. So those are the two sizes it's available, which really gives you a lot of options. It is going to follow the same process for marrying that we followed with the two-step standard. But to me, I actually thought that this one went smoother. Maybe it's just me, but I really thought in my test of this, it was completely seamless. I didn't have a single issue. So that made me really happy, and it made me really confident to go ahead and do this video on these two tank tops where we could compare two completely different materials that are not thick, that are more of the garment style that a lot of people are looking for. So the price point for the media, I think, is really reasonable. I got these tank tops from Shirt Space, where I did not get some sort of awesome, wholesale rate. If you are selling garments, it's of course worth it to get your tax ID and get those better rates, because you can get these for about $4. And a good tank top, people sell them for $25 to $30. So you have tons of profit margin for something like this if you're using the right kind of media. Now, to me, the two-step select was softer. Like I mentioned, I kind of thought it seemed easier to use, even though the step was the same. Something about it just seemed to flow better. And I do not print garments, so I don't have like hundreds of transfers under my belt to say, oh, I'm just good at this now. I really did feel that something about it just went smoother all around. It's pretty straightforward to use. We're going to marry it. We'll do our initial press. We'll let it cool completely, and then we'll do the fixing step and give it a little stretch. This has a washability of up to 50 times, assuming you wash it correctly, which is inside out, cool water, and tumble dry low or hang dry. If you haven't joined White Toner Transfer Support Group, I recommend you doing that, because you'll see there are a lot of people in there who do consistent wash tests. I personally don't do wash tests. There's plenty of people who do demo wash tests, and the reason why I don't is just because I don't have a washer and dryer. If you followed my group for a while, you know that I don't have a washer and dryer. I use a laundry service. It's just a little bit more convenient for my life since it's just me, and a little bit more cost effective, quite honestly, versus having to deal with all the issues that can come from owning a washer and dryer on top of the initial expense. Plus, my car wouldn't fit in the garage. Anyway, so just so you guys have an idea there. So this, like I said, costs right around the same price point as standard. I think that it's actually a little bit less than both the iColor two-step standard and Forever Laser Dark. So if those are the medias that you're using and you are looking for something that is a little bit better, I highly recommend you try out the iColor two-step select that we're going to do today. So we'll go ahead and start by switching this over to the iColor Pro Rip software. And I'll show you guys how to set up your media and a few adjustments that I'm going to make with the design that I'm using today. Don't forget to add any questions you have in the comments, and let's go ahead and get started. When you open up your iColor Pro Rip software, you're going to be greeted with this screen. The first thing that we want to do is make sure we are in the correct queue and have the correct paper type selected. So we will be using the overprint queue, which is used for pretty much all of the textile transfer media available. We're going to be using the select, so we want to click on our drop-down menu and choose that Uninet two-step select. I'm not going to be doing any rasterization with this image, and I'll kind of talk about that in just a second. So first we'll go ahead and select the select. Our instructions let us know that the paper type should say coated glossy if you're using the iColor 550. So we already have double checked to make sure that that paper type is selected. And now we'll go ahead and import our graphic by clicking on the little green plus sign. I'm going to be using this entertaining gym shirt design that I created. This is available on my website, www.ofloveandshiplap.us. I recently started working out at a sauna fitness studio, and if you think that sounds like torture, you're probably close to right, because, working out at 125 degrees is not for the faint of heart. We'll go ahead and resize our graphic so that it fits onto our page. Keep in mind that if your graphic is outside of the page size, you'll see this red error. And this can also throw off your print queue and cause a paper jam or inaccurate paper feeding. So we can resize it just by clicking and dragging from those corner nodes. Or we could also choose to click on the fit to page option. I don't want to use this particularly just because I don't want, the top of this design is very close to the edge. So I'm just going to bring it down just a little bit. And we could always adjust it by the measurements down here underneath the job tab as well. I'll go ahead and click the center on page icon so that that's centered. And now the next thing I want to do is utilize the Knock Me Blackout feature that's part of the iColor ProRib software. So the purpose of this is that it allows you to remove black that's within your design for the purpose of creating more dead space if you're already going to be putting this on a black substrate. And you can of course do the same with the white. So we'll go ahead and click on Jobs. We'll go to Production Plugins, and we're going to select Knock Me Blackout. Now you can see that we've lost the outline of our unicorn, some of those features in the eyes, the black text. This bottom picture represents what will be printed. Now, if you're not sure if this is, what you're looking for, you can select these different options. We'll select shirt color, which is already set to black, so that works out perfect. And then we can see how this should look in the end. Now, the reason why I'm not rasterizing this particular graphic is, one, I really want to get a good idea for how the select media is going to feel on the different garment types that we're going to be showing today. And two, because I'm using the Knock Me Blackout feature, I'm going to be creating a lot of dead space. There won't be any of the text, we'll just have the outline, so that's going to have a really soft feel to it. And then the background is already distressed. So really it's only the unicorn that would have any amount of thickness to it. And because we're utilizing that Knock Me Blackout, we're actually taking out a pretty nice chunk, so to speak. So I think that this is just a better option for something like this as opposed to doing a rasterization on this kind of design, especially because we really would only want to have to rasterize the unicorn, not the rest of the design. So we'll go ahead and click on OK. And we should see an update here of our graphic. You'll notice that it says editing over here in our queue. That's letting us know that it is updating that. And it'll take just a minute. If you guys are looking for more white toner experiences, be sure to join White Toner Transfer Support Group on Facebook. There are so many valuable videos and people just kind of sharing what they're working on in that group, and the amount of information you can find is absolutely invaluable. I highly recommend checking it out. Next, we just want to make sure that we check our color settings. So we'll go ahead and make sure we're under the Job tab and select Color Adjust. It's recommended that we have 225% coverage for our white, so we'll go ahead and bump that up just a little bit. And then because we did utilize that Knock Me Blackout feature and I'm going to be putting this on a black garment, I'm just going to increase my saturation of my colors up to a 4, just to give us a little bit more vibrancy. We'll go ahead and click OK, and we're ready to send this off to print. To do that, all we have to do is click on our print job icon with the rainbow coming out of the printer. I'm going to go ahead and send this to the printer, and then I will turn you guys around to the heat press, and we will go over marrying and applying the iColor 2-step select transfer media. Here's our transfer on our A sheet, fresh out of the printer. You can see all that outline and everything where the black was is not there. And that Knock Me Blackout tool has got amazing accuracy. As you can see, there's no little shadows or anything like that that sometimes you get when you use different types of design programs. Now we still have to add the adhesive to this so that it will actually stick to our garment. But before we can do that, we need to do the most important step, which is to pre-press this bottom. And we also want to make sure our pressure is at the correct setting. Now, the recommended is 8 PSI. Because I'm not working with a higher end press that has the digital readout for the PSI, I have to make the adjustments accordingly for myself. Now, that really comes down to the resistance you get in the handle when you have something on the press. So the best way to test this whenever you're trying to marry AB paper is to simply take a couple sheets of computer paper that are about the same thickness as what you're working with, stick it under there, and then see what kind of resistance you get. So I know my press and what to expect, and you kind of have to know yours in order for this technique to work. With that in mind, this gave me a little bit more resistance than I want, because an 8 PSI read is the lower end of high pressure. So with that in mind, I'm just going to loosen mine just a hair. Sorry. Press is of course hot. Keep in mind that pressure is one of the most important variables when it comes to marrying your AB paper. If your pressure if your pressure is off or you haven't heated this bottom platen plate, you're not going to get a solid marry, and that is definitely a problem. So I'm going to actually just, since we were talking, I will set this to for about 25 seconds. I'm going to let this pre-press. It's recommended that you do 30, even up to 40 if you wanted to. You just basically want to make sure that that bottom platen plate is completely hot, because this is going to be a really important step in getting your A and B paper to marry. So that pressure, so the preheating and the pressure are the two most important factors. And then of course the correct temperature. If you're using any press, honestly, but especially if you're not using one of the higher end presses, it's worth investing in a digital laser thermometer that will make sure that your press is giving you even temperature all the way across and also accurate temperature. Unfortunately, the reality is that any heat press can have a manufacturing flaw that impacts the temperature, but it is more common to have inaccurate temperature when you are not using one of the higher end heat presses. Now mine is accurate, thankfully. So we'll go ahead and stick our A sheet down with the toner side up and the gloss side down. And then this is our adhesive sheet. I just folded the corner to make it easier for us. We will line that up. And then we're going to go ahead and put a piece of our specially coated craft paper on top. Keep in mind that this is not just any old craft paper. This is a special coated craft paper from iColor. It is recommended to be used, and you can use it multiple times over. You'll use this through not just the marrying step, but also the application and the fixing step of your media. So just something to keep in mind. If you guys have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comments below so I can answer them after the video. I did already get one transfer ready to go just to help us save time. This is what it looks like. The adhesive's already been added. And then I did that little step where I cut off the edges just so any adhesive that might have transferred over is not going to be there and get on our garment. So we are marrying at 310 degrees for 120 seconds with, again, the lower end of firm pressure. So you could call it medium high pressure if you wanted, but you just want to be cautious that you're not having too much pressure, because it can cause issues during the marrying process, especially when it comes time to peel your adhesive back from the printed transfer sheet. So I'm going to go ahead and put my heat gloves on because we've got about 30 seconds left. If I didn't mention it, I'm just using a 16 by 20 press and release heat press from acesdeals.net. Really generic 16 by 20 press, but I honestly have been very happy with it. So I don't have any complaints. And of course, one of the things I want you guys to understand is you don't necessarily need a super high-end press to be able to utilize white toner. I know that kind of deters people, and it shouldn't. All right, so we'll pull off our sheet. We want to make sure we leave this on the press. We're going to give it just a little rub. If you're using the larger media, you might find that you don't need to rub, but then we're going to try and do a nice, tight, slow peel back. Try and keep steady movement as well, which can definitely seem difficult because the press is very hot. All right. We got a great peel though, which always makes me happy. And you can kind of see where that adhesive stuck to the toner and what was left behind on the adhesive sheet. So we'll go ahead and there is our transfer. So there's on this side, that little line you see where we had it folded, that's adhesive. That's why we need to trim the edges. So I'm going to do that since we have to wait for our press temp to lower anyways. So I will go ahead and we're going to lower this now to 265 degrees. Now, not only is this the recommended temperature for applying one of the iColor Select transfers onto a polyester garment, but it's also recommended to help keep the color vibrancy. And this is really vibrant, and I do want to try and maintain that as much as possible. So I'm just going to cut off those edges. It is going to take a minute for the temperature to come down, and that's okay. While it's coming down, I'm going to pre-press our tank tops. All right, so I cut off our edge. And so that is ready to be pressed on our garment. Let me just grab our tank tops. All right, so the first one that we're gonna do is the Anvil Freedom. And I think I mentioned that I really like this tank top for all intents and purposes, but it is too thin. Well, you can't really see because I don't have light behind it, but it's very thin. And that's a little disappointing to me. But in terms of this is a tri-blend, I believe. Let's just double check. This is 65% polyester, 35% rayon. So to me, this is a great tank top because it is lightweight. However, I give a good shout out to women who like wearing those Bella and Canvas really thin tank tops. That is definitely not me. I feel that I'm a little too old to be wearing something that's see-through. So I'm just going to use my craft paper because I have it. And we'll go ahead and pre-press that while our press is decreasing temperature, and that'll also give us an opportunity to once again adjust the pressure. You do want firmer pressure when you're applying your transfer. So, I mean, we're really already set for that, but it's still a good way to test it out. If you haven't joined White Toner Transfer Support Group, be sure to head over and do that. If you're not aware, the group was created and founded by the president of iColor, so you can get a lot of helpful tips, and there are so many amazing people in there who contribute with awesome videos and tips and tricks, and I have learned so much from it, and I know that you will too. Plus, sometimes they give away paper, so just something to keep in mind. I think that's probably enough pre-press. You just want to make sure it's nice and flat. And we still got a little ways to go before our press is going to be at the right temperature. So I'm going to pull that one off. And I'll go ahead and set up our second tank top. So this one is the Bayside Tri-Blend. And it is, if you guys can read that, 50% polyester, 25% cotton, 25% rayon. Now, this tank top I like a lot more because it is thicker. It's not see-through, but it's not super thick. I would say that even the softness of this reminds me a lot of the 100% cotton Bella and Canvas shirts. This might not be quite as soft as those are, but as a whole, in terms of the thickness and whatnot, I think that this is definitely in that category. So when it comes to tank tops, this is probably one of my preferred. Like I said, I do really like the other one that I just showed you, but I don't like how thin it is, and that's kind of a problem. All right. Let me get this flattened out here. We have lowered our temp to 293. We've still got a little ways to go. Okay. Looks like we're nice and flat. Now I'm just throwing this up as a cover to protect it. See, this is way too much pressure. There we go. So that pre-pressing stage is always a good opportunity for you to adjust your pressure. Once again, if you don't have that digital readout. So we'll give this about 30 seconds to do this, and then we'll go ahead and press this. Now, because both of these tank tops have polyester in them, and a reasonable amount of polyester, the lower temperature is also going to help mitigate any dye migration that might occur. And since we're using black tank tops, there's a lot of dye to have to worry about. So lowering the temperature is definitely really important. And one of the nice features of a lot of the iColor papers is that they can be pressed at lower temperatures to help accommodate everything from the dye migration that happens with polyester to just the sensitive fabrics, you know, like if you're using satin or nylon that don't do as well under high heat. So it gives you a lot of versatility in what you can do. All right. We are just about at our temperature, so we're just gonna give this another second. I don't want to rush it. I know that having to wait for the heat press to go down is kind of boring, but I promise we're almost there. We're almost to the magic step. We're almost there. Again, don't forget that if you have questions, just leave them below. There is so much amazing media from iColor, and I definitely think that this is one of the best ones that they offer simply because it has really great versatility in terms of the type of fabric that you can use. I know a lot of people like the two-step standard because it is, you know, akin to the Forever Laser Dark A and B, but me personally, I think that if I was going to sell garments, the iColor two-step select is definitely the one I would go for, and the one that, quite honestly, I recommend you go for too. It's just a little bit more expensive, but you're going to get such better results and be able to use it on so many different types of textiles without it being too much of an issue. So yeah, just something to keep in mind. All right, so our press has finally achieved the level that we would like it to be at, the 265 degrees. So I'm going to do our Anvil Freedom tank top first. So we're going to be pressing our design for 25 seconds. So we'll start by getting it centered. I'm a big fan of just using a tape measure. If you do a lot of garments, you might want to invest in a what's called a T-square, as in T-E-E, as in t-shirt square, because that makes lining up your designs a lot quicker. I personally don't sell garments, so kind of a non-issue for me. I do want to make sure this is straight though, so we'll grab our handy laser level. This is from Walmart, just called the Black & Decker laser level. All right, we'll go ahead and top this with our craft paper. Again, special coated craft paper, not just any old craft paper. For this step, you can actually just use any old craft paper or a Teflon sheet. You also can tape this down if you'd like. I'm not going to do that. We want very firm pressure. And like I said, we're going to be doing this for 25 seconds. So I'm going to get some gloves on because 25 seconds is not that long. We've got just about 10 seconds to go. All right. I'm going to hold my hand on the press so it doesn't pop up and shift my transfer. And just kind of carefully pull that off. And we have to let this cool, like ice cold cool, at least a couple of minutes before we are ready. So we're just going to really carefully take that off the press and put it on my desk. And we will let that cool while we do our next one. All right, so this one is our tri-blend. I'm just gonna take the heat gloves off because sometimes you can get stuff on your transfer. And we will check our measurements really quick. Make sure we got it centered. Or make sure we got it straight, which we do not. This laser level is one of my favorite little tools. You guys probably see it in every video I do because I just can't imagine ever not using it. It's so handy. All right, once again, 265 maximum pressure for 25 seconds, which is not very long. I just put my hand on our other one. It's kind of lukewarm, so it's not quite ready yet, but it will be ready in no time. Again, I held my hand on there just to help it not pop up. I gotta clean off our adhesive sheets from my desk. All right, so we'll go ahead and pull this off. Once again, we gotta let this cool completely. All right, the instructions actually say 5 minutes, but I think we're all right. So when this is ready to peel, first of all, it's going to feel cold, like not lukewarm cold, not room temperature cold. It will feel noticeably cold. And then you're just going to pick a corner, pull it back. It's better to do it at an angle, but since I'm working with a lot of rasterization that was already in my design, I want to be cautious of that. So here's what it looks like when it's first pressed. Again, this is a really thin tank top. I think this feels really good, but we haven't done the fixing step yet. Actually, I love how this feels. Like I love it a lot. So, the other one still needs a minute to cool. So we'll just pop back over here to do our fixing step. Now the fixing is kind of like that finalizing step. You want 10 seconds of this, so it's pretty quick. And this is the step where it's most important that you use the correct protective sheet. So like I said, we've been using that coated craft paper, special coated, not just any old craft paper. We're gonna set this on and we're gonna press for 10 seconds for that fixing step. All right. 10 seconds is pretty quick. And we are there. And then you just want to real carefully I kind of like to jiggle it as I'm doing it. So that way, if it happens to be stuck to the hot transfer, you'll know. I'm going to give it a little stretch. This will just help adhere into the fibers a little better. And then we'll have a look at this. Let me take my glove off. Okay. So what can I tell you about this? First of all, this feels great. This feels so awesome. The transfer itself is almost soft, if that makes sense. Like, a lot of transfers, they will feel kind of plasticky. The two-step select feels soft. It feels awesome. Now, on top of that, because we did such a good job, we already had a distressed background. We took out all of this black. So now we have a pretty great transfer, quite honestly. It's not too thick. Even this part with the unicorn does not feel thick. Trying to think of the best way I can describe it. I feel that it definitely feels softer, or equivalent to maybe something that's just been pressed with direct to garment. And I know I use that comparison a lot, and that's simply because so many people compare direct to garment and white toner. They have different uses, they have different limitations. This feels amazing. I would probably sell garments and just use this media because that's how good it feels. I'm not really a garment person just because all the variables in terms of, sizing and things like that, but it feels so nice. So, all right, let's check on our other one because that's going to be the real question, is the comparison of these two together. Now I'm saying this feels really nice, and this is that thin tank top. I mean, look, you can see it's see-through. So, this is the select. It feels so good on the fabric, even on a thin tank top like this. So let's just grab our other one. I'll bring you guys back over. All right, it feels like we're cold and we're good to go. Again, that angled roll. Ooh, we might not be cooled completely yet. We gotta give that one just another minute. If you're not cooled completely, you'll know because it will kind of be stuck. See how it's kind of stuck on that letter? Once it cools completely though, it comes right off. So we'll just give that another second. Put you guys back over on the heat press. I'm excited to see how this one turns out. We are almost there. Again, you want this to be ice cold. The directions actually say to give it 5 minutes, which we didn't give it 5 minutes, but all right. Now this is our thicker tank top. We're gonna give it that 10-second finishing step. And this feels so much better on this one than it does on the other tank top, just because the fabric is a little thicker. So try not to burn my hand. All right, so last step, 265 for 10 seconds, very fast. Get that glove on again. And then we're going to real carefully pull that off. Give this a nice stretch. Again, the stretch is just to help make sure it's really solidified. You want to make sure you're doing it while it's hot, while everything is hot. And then our colors look awesome. I'm really happy about that. Increasing the saturation, little step that goes a long way. Even our yellow looks great. You can see the texture of our dumbbells really nicely. There's a little automatic rasterization added there. Yeah, so let's pull this over to the light so you can kind of see the two next to each other and I can compare them. Okay. So, the feel of both is outstanding. Again, we use that Knock Me Blackout feature to take out some of the, to create negative space, you know, in our text, which was already black. And then of course it helped a lot in our unicorn and even in the dumbbells. It feels really soft on both of them. I really think soft is kind of the best way to describe it. I think that it's a great option for either of these, but especially since so many people do like using those thinner shirts, this is definitely an amazing option. So our colors look great. Our transfers printed great. I personally don't have any complaints. I'm really satisfied with how these look. I can't wait to wear them to my sauna fitness classes because I think that they're really appropriate. So once again, this is the iColor 2-Step Select Media. I highly recommend you give it a try if you haven't purchased that sample kit of media from iColor or from your dealer. Definitely head and do that because it gives you a great opportunity to try out so many different types of media. And again, if you want to learn more about the world of white toner, not only should you join us on Wednesdays, but also head over to White Toner Transfer Support Group and see all of the amazing things that people are working on. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.